Speaking of teams with momentum, we'll move on to the next one. The Valley Boys, the Phoenix Suns, 8-2 in their last 10. But if you go back even further, you see they're 12-3 in their last 15. We know they got two All Stars now. Chris Paul initially, and then Devin Booker joined them after the injury to Anthony Davis. He got pulled in as a reserve. But the Phoenix Suns, again, along with the Utah Jazz, are moving from hottest teams in the NBA to one of the best teams, at least in the Western Conference. They sit fourth in the Western Conference right now, playing good ball. Go ahead and sing my man's praise, Jake. I know you want to. Go ahead and sing my
No,
man's praise.
I'm going to have to ask you to apologize to me and Kyle for, and I think it was Matt, when Chris Paul got traded to Phoenix, I said, they could be one of the best teams in the West. And you acted like the sky was falling.
I want a ring, Jake. I want a ring. What were the Thunder last year? Oh, no, answer me this. What were the Thunder last year? Where were they in the West? Oh, they were fourth. Okay. So, I don't, fourth in the West, great.
But going into the season, we didn't think that. I actually legitimately thought the Suns were going to be a good team when he came, and they're playing better than I even thought they would.
They're a good team, and I think they're beating a lot of people's expectations. But come May and June, you think Phoenix is going to be playing for a ring? Just answer me that. And this is supposed to be a happy segment about them, and now you got me on my pessimism side.
Nope. This is a happy segment. And I can switch it because I actually really like this team, and I see a lot of similarities to that Jazz team. They play really good defense, but overall, and what the Jazz really have down is they know their game and they stick to it, right? So, this is a team that knows their strengths. One of their strengths is the half-court game. You have Chris Paul. Chris Paul, he can play in transition, but Chris Paul in the half-court game is deadly at the point guard position. They're 29th in pace, which means they're slowing it down a lot, which, by the way, once you get to the playoffs, the game gets slowed down. And they're giving up the fourth least points in the league while still being in the top half of scoring. So they're playing to their strengths. They're playing good defense like the Jazz, and they're getting contributions from players you maybe didn't expect coming into the season. Mikal Bridges you kind of knew, but now you're looking at a guy like Cam Johnson's playing really well, a lot of minutes for them. Sarge is playing well. Jay Crowder has been, the piece he was even for the Heat last year, but just playing really well. And I see a lot of similarities with this Jazz team, but I kind of see more winners on this Phoenix roster.
I see a little more dogs on this Phoenix roster. Another guy they're getting big contributions from, kind of unlocking DeAndre Ayton a little bit. And I think having Chris Paul, putting him in the high pick and roll is just put another element to DeAndre Ayton's game. Jake, I remember when he got drafted first overall, that was your guy. You loved DeAndre Ayton. You thought he was going to be a beast, and kind of didn't hit that in his first year. And now it looks like he's opened that up with Chris Paul on the team.
So it's funny you say that. He is my guy. He's on my fantasy team.
I'm Puma fan. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I took him over Luka Doncic, kind of marrying me to him as a. Let's not talk about it.
He's on my fantasy. He's on my fantasy too, but I didn't take him over Luka Doncic.
There's some things that you just don't need to say, Jake.
It was in the Dynasty League, so I had the number 1 overall pick. Yeah? I had the number 1 overall pick in the rookie draft. Mm-hmm. I'm going to pick the guy who went number 1 overall, who is a Bahamian beast. We're getting off topic.
Fair enough.
I think he truly is the one piece that is going to determine how deep they can go because he has that potential. Mm-hmm. But much like Joel Embiid in his, rookie, first, second, third year, the consistency wasn't always there. He's spotty. And you see that a lot with DeAndre Ayton. He'll come out, he'll be really active one night, and then the next night he'll have a tough opponent. He won't be as involved in the game plan, and he kind of shuts down. So his effort level and his activity, if it's consistent, I think Phoenix can be a really good team. I am a little disappointed, though. You mentioned I thought he was going to be a beast. Part of that was me assuming he's going to add the mid-range post-up. He's going to add the three-point shot. That's not really there yet. He's still a good player, but if he can take even that next step into stardom, they'll be a tremendous team.
Well, I think it starts with extending his play further from the basket. And I think the first thing is just getting him comfortable out there. You put him in now, 17 to 22 feet pick and rolls. You just get him used to operating in that space out there. And he's starting to do that more. And it falls into the next category I want to talk about, because I love talking about Chris Paul, is, how has Chris Paul made the Suns better? What has Chris Paul brought to the Suns? First of all, it's like the unselfish basketball. You get that when CP3 comes to your team. 7 guys in double figures right now, 5th most assists in the league, and then now 2 All-Stars, the first time since Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire, the 04-05 Suns, the first time that they've had 2 all-stars down there. That's what happens when, you know, a guy like Chris Paul comes to your team, that cohesive unit, unselfish basketball on offense, locking down on defense. And you look up and you're 4th in the West when other teams aren't, you know, being this efficient. So, you know, the Suns are really taking a next step. Chris Paul is helping them do a lot.
And he also,
I think 100%. These were the expectations that we got from Chris Paul, right? This is what he did. Why were the Thunder in the playoffs last year?
Yep.
Chris Paul. And the Suns probably would have been in the playoffs, but you even look at how he had the Thunder playing last year, and we saw the same thing come to the Suns. We saw a team this last year that was very over-reliant on Devin Booker, and now you take the ball out of his hands, you get a, third-year Ayton now, is it? You bring in shooters. Cam Johnson came out of nowhere, might be one of the best shooters in the league. Doesn't have the volume yet, but he's knocked down. But probably the best. It's weird to me to say this, but true point guard, like old school point guard, that's what I think Chris Paul is. Probably the best. I know it's like a blurred line. What does that mean? But I think you guys probably understand. You probably have the best old school true point guard in the league, and they're playing like they have him.
Yeah, that just, and what is notable from last year to this year, where you know, you had Ricky Rubio controlling the ball sometimes. It was Devin Booker kind of, you know, that responsibility fell on him, where that's not completely the player he is. It's the calm that Chris Paul brings to that team, the veteran leadership, just you know, the gaming the officials, all the stuff that he brings.
Gaming the officials.
It's an important part. I don't say it as enough.
No. Yo, love throwing salt on what I love. It's always these little backhanded compliments. We talk about the Bucks. We talk about Chris Paul, and this guy wants to say gaming the officials. You were trying to say it all slick too, like I wasn't going to hear it, and then just keep moving on.
I was going to move on real quick, but you called it. That's right.
That's crazy.
It was meant as a sign of respect because he knows the ins and outs of the game. He is to basketball as Floyd Mayweather is to boxing. In the same way Floyd Mayweather games boxing, Chris Paul, in my opinion, does the same.
Savvy. The polite term is savvy. Yeah.
There you go.
I'll take that. Before we move on, another thing that Chris Paul has brought to the Suns, I don't know if he's brought it, but you know, it's a coincidence that it's gone up since he's been there. They're shooting just really efficiently. 4 of their 5 starters are shooting 49% or higher. Devin Booker at 50, Chris Paul at 49, DeAndre Ayton at 59, and Mikal Bridges at 51%. Mikal Bridges is such a good 3-and-D.
Which is ridiculous.
So good on both sides of the ball. That's Nova product right there for you.
And this is 4 of their 5 starters, but this is their core 4. These 4 guys have started 10 or more games than anyone else on this roster. And to have basically, I know Chris Paul's at 49%, but to have basically your 4 core players all shooting 50% is ridiculous to me.
And that's something that sustains itself, man. You talk about, are the Suns ready to go up against, you know, they didn't inch their way into the playoffs. They went from a lottery team to now they're top 4 in the West. So can they contend with, you know, presumably the Nuggets and the Clippers and the Lakers of the world, the Blazers of the world, who's going to be in the mix of that Western Conference? That is stuff that sustains itself. Efficiency, sharing 100%. The ball, getting all your guys involved, everyone playing their role. That's how you go toe-to-toe with these people in the West. So, you know what? Hey, I'm glad y'all saw that there was a good Suns team. I was looking at completely rings when Chris Paul went there. They're a very, very, very fun team to watch. I just want my guy to get some rings. That's all.
I think they're more built than the playoffs than you think, though, man. I say it all the time, but the game slows down in the playoffs. And if you're running half court ball the entire season, and this is the game, you know, a lot of teams are going into it. Like, say the Pelicans make the playoffs. Sure, the games will still be more high scoring, but what was last night? 260 points?
Ridiculous.
That doesn't happen anymore. The Suns are used to this pace of play, and they're more built for the playoffs than you think. Ring, I don't know, but I like the Suns team a lot.
Continuing with, go ahead, Jake. Before we move on, go ahead.
The only point I was going to say, I'll throw this one out there to the Straight Facts listeners. Down the road, we may be speaking with the man who built that core 3. I'll just leave that bone out there. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Straight Facts listeners, that's on Jake. So if he put that out there, then we didn't put that out there.
I'll say it again. Jake
said that. I like that, though.